Hi, James. This is Joy. I have two questions. I'll break it up into two parts. My first question is, I've seen a lot of videos about the cost of insurance going up yearly with IULs. Can you speak a little bit about that cost and how that affects your premiums as you age?
All right, that's a great question. And it's actually one that I deal with quite often as well. So surprisingly, I haven't made a video on that yet. When it comes to the underlying costs within the IUL is built on annual renewable term insurance. Okay, that means each year the true cost of insurance is being charged to your policy based on how much death benefit you're getting. Now, with an IUL, the cost of insurance is the spread between what your cash value is and what your death benefit is. That's going to change, okay? So when we set up our policies, when we properly design an IUL policy, we set it up as an increasing death benefit. That allows us to minimize the insurance costs at the beginning, but maximize the amount of money that we're pumping in each year. So when it comes to the costs on that IUL, when I'm talking, if you watch my 3-part videos, at some point in there, I talk about wanting to be maybe under 45 if we're investing or if we're starting an IUL policy. And that's just kind of a loose rule. It doesn't have to be 45 or under. You can actually get pretty good results if you're putting in enough money, depending on how you're funding it. If it's properly designed and you're max funding it, we can even see pretty good results, through age 60. The problem is that annual renewable term insurance, it goes up every single year. And it really starts to accelerate when you get over 70, 75, 80 years old. $100,000 worth of insurance when you're 30 years old might cost, $300 a month or $300 a year. It's very inexpensive. Maybe even be less than that. I don't even recall. I think the last one I did, 30-year-old, it might have even been less than $100 a month or $100 a year. It was really inexpensive. You take that same amount of insurance and you have an 85-year-old, $100,000 of insurance might cost you $10,000 a year or $15,000 a year. It can really start to jump up when you get into older age, because what the cost is based on is the likelihood of you dying that year. And of course, the older you get, the higher likelihood that you're going to pass away that year, so the more they're going to charge you for that insurance. So the key behind the IULs and the opportunity to take advantage of that growth is to do it while the cost of insurance is very low. When we compare whole life insurance and IULs, whole life insurance has a lot higher underlying cost of insurance, because what they're going to do is they're going to take your life expectancy and they're going to use those term insurance rates. And rather than charging you this small amount like an IUL does from year to year and raising it, they want to give you a level death benefit. So they're going to say, okay, if your anticipated lifespan is 85 years old, we're going to take this term insurance cost between now and 85 years old, and we're going to average those out. And then we're going to reduce the cost a little bit each year to account for growth in the policy, because you're not going to actually pay that exact amount. They're going to allow for early on growth in the policy to help get you up to that death benefit. So that's what whole life does. What IUL does is it just starts off with that really low amount. So when we're looking at comparing growth possibilities with whole life and IUL, the reason you have a greater growth possibility, greater cash value growth possibility in the IUL is because that underlying insurance is minuscule when we first start out. Do actuaries use total population death statistics or policyholder statistics? Good question. I don't know the answer to that for sure, but I would assume both. Because one of the things they do is they're going to take into account whether you're a man or a woman. Just looking at genders, you have a population death statistics that says women are going to live longer than men. Now, they also look into what's your family history. Does your family have a history of cancer? Does your family have a history of early death? Do they have a history of Alzheimer's or other things that contribute to early deaths? So they're going to take all of those things into consideration. So my guess is both of those things are accounted for. But I don't know because I'm not an actuary. I haven't actually posed that question to them. But when you just consider the basic questions that they go through, I would definitely say they cover both of those. He says, reasoning, you care about your health, you make healthy decisions, you want my insurance to reflect my choices. I suspect others don't care about theirs as much, and I bet that skews the data. Yes, that's true. That's true. I think the actuarials, this was in, I think, Top Gun's response as when he was wondering how the actuarials counted, if it was overall population. They definitely take both into consideration, and yeah, they would look at your specific demographic as well, and see how that compares to everybody else. Because realistically, some demographics have a higher likelihood of high blood pressure, which could cause, early deaths. That tends to happen often. There's probably a whole bunch of other things that certain demographics, on a whole, identify as a greater risk for one thing or another. So they're definitely going to take that into consideration. Obviously, those are very broad, and when you get down to the individual level and the person, the risk that person presents is certainly going to be individualized based on their lifestyle and their history and their immediate family history as well. I mean, that's probably the biggest factor, I would say, is the immediate family history. Okay, beyond your current health, but beyond your current health and your health history is your family members are going to be the next highest, other than you being a man or a woman. So you can go back in a year, bump up your health rating. It cannot be lowered. Yeah, you can always. So most of the companies that you buy insurance from, if you get a lower health rating originally, you can still start your policy at that lower rating, and you can go back to them and ask for a better rating if something changes in your life. So if you were on medication, you're now off medication. If you had a condition that was kind of like just in their timeline of things that they care about, because some things they care about whether it happened within the last 5 years, some things they care about whether it happened within the last 10 years. There are things that you can go back and have them reassess and get you a better health rating. So definitely good to check into that if you've ever qualified for something at that lower health rating and you think that might have changed.
This was a question asked and answered during one of our WealthCare Wednesdays live streams. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments section below, or join us on one of our WealthCare Wednesday live streams where you can ask the question and we'll answer it on the air live. Hope you found value in today's video. If you'd like to find out more about IUL and whole life, check out these videos right over here, and we'll see you next time.
Now go maximize your cash flow.